The museum here at Second Manassas is very good, by the way. And right now we're pressed on time, so we are not going to go in the museum on this video, I don't think. Let's go check out Stonewall Jackson. Hello, Bill Molyneux here for Bill's History World with none other than Goober, the traveling bear. And we are at the first Battle of Bull Run. And also the second Battle of Bull Run, and there stands Jackson like a stone wall. We're going to walk up there and check him out. But right now, this is our first sign that we hit. We dug long trenches where the dead lay thickest and the bodies were thrown in until the trenches were filled. Hallowed ground with over 3,600 killed during both Manassas. Many of the dead were hastily buried near where they fell out of necessity. Some were buried in mass graves. All right, we're going to walk around a little bit and let's see what we can discover. Well, everyone, here we are. There stands Jackson like a stone wall. Well, it's a pretty darn big statue. And on top of that, Stonewall Jackson looks very muscular, doesn't he? Let's check out the base here. Wow, and I have a beautiful cold day. Just stopped here for a few minutes. Thomas Jonathan Jackson, 1824 to 1863. And of course, he perished at the Battle of Chancellorsville. All right. Now, Goober the Traveling Bear has actually been to the death house, the shrine as some call it. And we've also made a video of where his arm is buried. Erected by the state of Virginia under the Act of 1938. See if we close that up a little bit. All right. And we're hitting it again here, trying to deal with some sunlight. Now there's a lot to see here at this military park. Just like all national parks, they have wonderful national park guides, and also sometimes they have volunteers. And we're gonna go check out some signage. The War Over Memory. In 1938, the sons of the Confederate veterans conveyed land on Henry Hill to the United States government for the creation of the Manassas National Battlefield Park. All right, stipulation of the transfer required the National Park Service to permit Virginia to erect a monument to Confederate General Thomas J. Stonewall Jackson, who had earned his famous nickname on Henry Hill at the First Battle of Manassas. There stands Jackson like a stone wall, rally around the Virginians. All right. Very cool. Wow. There's quite a bit to see here. And we're going to go over and check out the caissons and limbers on the Union lines. Let's go check them out. They're sort of rare to see them on a battlefield. So here's our signage of Henry Hill. Today, the scene of the peaceful fields, the carnage which occurred here on July 21st, 1861, when Union and Confederate troops clashed at the first major land battle of the Civil War. Fighting occurred on this ground, resulting in over 5,000 American casualties. So our Confederate lines, there's our artillery, Confederate artillery in Stonewall Jackson. And then off to our left, we have our artillery for the Union. And we're going to go take a look at them. Okay, everyone, we have a battery of 10-pounder Parrots, and they have the reinforced breech, And a battery is for the Union Army is six cannons of the same type. The Confederates quite often would make 4 guns to a battery, and they would mix their smoothbore guns with their rifle guns. Now, I'm going to gently walk over here because these are really cool, and they're not on a lot of battlefields. So we have a limber. Now the limber is an ammunition chest, and so you have your team of horses pulling your limber. Your artillery piece is attached here. And what's really cool is they have caissons. Now you'll see a caisson, such as when President Jimmy Carter recently passed away. They have the caisson. So this is really 2 limbers together, all right, with 3 ammunition chests. Now I have seen where one of the chests, sometimes they would have some tools in it, and sometimes not. And I don't try to be an expert. You need to talk to someone like the famous Scott Mingus or Timothy Smith or Gary Alderman. I just try to bring some history out. And look at this. Here's your spare wheel. Now, one of the things I really want to try to point out is the spacing of this battery. I do miniature and board wargaming. So this 6-gun battery starts there. You see its limbers are there. Reserve ammunition and the caissons are there. And it ends way over there by the museum. There's the museum. So the frontage of this battery is probably 2 football fields. So you just got to imagine what a battery of artillery lined up was like and how big it was. Very impressive here. Now let's go walk over to that signage there and see what that has to say. Okay, our signage here is artillery duel. General Irvin McDowell felt confident that his victory was at hand. The Federal flanking column had marched around and behind the Confederate defenses along Bull Run. Nearly 18,000 troops were en route to the front. Confederate resistance on Matthews Hill had collapsed. After a 2-hour delay to reorganize his available men, the Union commander turned his attention to pressing the retreating foe to occupy Henry Hill in front of you. McDowell directed 2 artillery batteries, 11 guns total, to occupy this high ground. The battery commanders protest the lack of infantry support would make their cannons vulnerable to capture. The order stood. No sooner had the Federal artillery unlimbered when Confederate batteries opened fire from only 300 yards away. Over the next hour, the opposing batteries dueled across the field. Suddenly, from the far woods came the blood-chilling cry, the rebel yell. Through dense smoke, the Confederate infantry swarmed across the field. Captain James B. Ricketts, Company I, 1st U.S. Artillery. Ricketts fell wounded in the thigh while commanding his battery. Captured by Confederates, Ricketts recuperated by a nearby plantation before being imprisoned in Richmond. Okay. Now the artillery, the Confederate artillery, I don't know if you can see it. There's the tree. It's behind the tree on that tree line. And then it swoops down a little bit below Stonewall Jackson's monument, and then it swoops over to the right. All right. Now while we take a look over here, and we'll walk over there, and then we'll have to continue our travels onward. This is an interesting sign. This is of the 7th Georgia. And they placed markers around the battlefield. There's only 2 left surviving. And position of the 7th Georgia Regiment. And July 21st. There we go. All right, we're going to check out this building up here, and then we'll head over and check out some more stuff. Follow Goober the Traveling Bear. Now here we found a marker. Lieutenant Ramsey of Ricketts Battery was killed here July 21st, 1861. Battle of First Manassas, Bull Run. Now for those of you that don't know, there are 2 battles here. First Battle of Manassas, Second Battle of Manassas. Right now we're covering the First Battle of Manassas. And I'm also getting cold. Wade Hampton of South Carolina was wounded here on July 21st, 1861. The Battle of First Manassas, Bull Run. All right. Let's go check out another sign, and we have a little graveyard. We'll do the signage first, because maybe we'll learn about the graveyard. Invaded farmland. Spring Hill Farm, now simply known as Henry Hill, lay fallow and overgrown in the summer of '61. A small vegetable garden and orchard surrounded the frame house. Inside the home, an 84-year-old Judith Henry remained bedridden, too old to work the land that had been in her family for more than a century. She shared the home with her daughter Ellen. A hired teenage slave, Lucy Griffith, assisted with the domestic chores. The Battle of Bull Run accumulated on the Henry property. Unaware of the civilians inside the home, Federal artillery fired on the dwelling to drive away Confederate sharpshooters. The cannon fire crashed through the house, mortally wounding the widow Henry, the battle's only known civilian fatality. By day's end, the family monarch was dead, the house in ruins, and the surrounding landscape forever redefined by the events of July 21st, 1861. Little remained of the Henry house by the time this photo was taken in March of '62. Okay. Well, everyone, we now know who's buried in the cemetery, don't we? All right. May they all rest in peace. And we're going to walk around the front of the building. As I walk along, I almost had a chuckle. I was thinking of walking along the avenue. Some of you might understand why I'm laughing over that sentence. Anyhow, this was a Confederate victory. It was a sweeping Confederate victory, really. Here we have honoring the dead. The Remembering the Fallen occurred soon after the war concluded. Union troops stationed at nearby Fairfax Courthouse. Many who had recently served on burial duty at the battlefield. Recognizing the need for a memorial, this was erected. It remains one of the oldest monuments of any Civil War battlefield. Completed in June of 1865. I think it's only fitting we walk around it. There we go. Now I have some wind, but I do have dead cats on the speakers, on the microphones. I put Chew on, so I got 2 furry things over my microphone. So I'm hoping we're going to be good on that. And like always, you know, if you're driving and you see a historic spot, pull over for 10 minutes and check it out. Life is very short. Well, we're going to walk along and just chit-chat for a moment. I've been here with my friend Elwood Woody Christ, famous historian who passed away over a decade ago. And even though he was in Antietam and Gettysburg, really incredible historian for those two battlefields. He knew a lot about this battlefield also. And I remember also walking along this battlefield route with my good friend Jerry Bilka, and he too has passed away. But I don't think of it as negatives. Death comes upon everyone, and I am walking here remembering the great memories I had with both Elwood Woody Christ and Jerry Bilka, and laughing. And I also remember both times it was hotter than a son of a gun. And today it's about 30 degrees out. This is an interesting marker. This is for Francis Stibbings Bartow, born Savannah, Georgia. He was mortally wounded on this spot on July 21st, 1861, and he commanded the 7th, 8th, 9th, 11th Georgia, 1st Kentucky Regiments, the first Confederate officer to give his life on the field. Okay. And then if I turn ever so slowly, they have some nice signage about it. The current marker dates to 1936. Now, if you come here in June or July, this battlefield is just a hopping. And even today, there's quite a few cars. Let's walk up over the knoll. Follow me and Goober the Traveling Bear. Well, here's our signage for like a Stonewall. Confederate reinforcements deployed into battle line at the edge of the woods behind you. Anchoring the center of this new position stood the Brigade of the Virginians, 2,500 strong, under the command of General Thomas J. Jackson. When told the enemy was driving the Confederates, Jackson calmly replied, "We will give them the bayonet." Jackson's determined resistance on Henry Hill drew the attention of General Bernard B. Attempting to rally the remnants of his brigade, B shouted, "Look, there stands Jackson like a stone wall. Let us go to his assistance." The nickname spread rapidly through the Confederate Army and throughout the South. Stonewall Jackson was on his way to becoming a legend. And Goober and I have been to where his arm is buried, and also where he had his amputation of his arm. Some call it the Stonewall Jackson Shrine, Gilley Station, and others call it the Death House. I'm not sure why it has the two different names, but we'll leave that at that. And we're just happy to explore history. All right, let's continue on our path. The Washington, Louisiana Artillery Battalion, Major John B. Walton, 3 6-pounder smoothbore guns, 2 6-pounder rifled guns. We advanced by hand we advanced by hand to the front until finally the battery was upon the crown of the hill, entirely exposed to the view of the artillery and infantry, and at that moment their fire fell like hail around us. Notwithstanding, my guns were as rapidly and beautifully serviced by the cannoneers, and with much composure and silence they were upon the orderly daily drill, lobbing shell and shot to the Union lines. Well, Goober the Traveling Bear and I like to say, visit your historic site soon, wherever one may be near you. Stay safe, be kind, be courteous, and thank you for watching. Please subscribe and help me grow Bill's History World with Goober the Traveling Bear channel. Thank you again, everyone.